Welcome to There is a Method to the Madness. My name is Rob Maxwell. I'm an exercise physiologist and personal trainer. I'm the owner of Maxwell's fitness programs, and I've been in business since 1994. The purpose of the podcast is to give you the real deal, tell you the truth, and use science so you know what you're supposed to do, and most importantly, why you're supposed to do it. Today I'm going to give you a rundown of the summer version of the 2024 MaxFit Games. I'll explain why we do them and all the fun stuff surrounding it. But before I get to that, let me thank our wonderful sponsors. First off, Jonathan and Lynn Gilden of the Gilden Group at Realty Pros. They are committed to providing the highest level of customer service and home sales, and they have the sales and the reviews to back that up. If you need any help, give them a shout at 386-451-2412. And by the way, they were one of our sponsors, one of our main sponsors for the MaxFit Games. All right, so I started the MaxFit Games, I guess probably 7 or 8 years ago. And we have always attached a cause to it, a cause that is important to me typically, or maybe somebody that I know, and obviously it's got to be good for the community, and we have done that. So this year we attached our cause to the Volusia Recovery Alliance. I was at a 5K, I guess in the early part of the summer. It was up in Ormond, and I saw a booth and it said Volusia Recovery Alliance. And I went up and talked to them a little bit, those that know my background and story. And for those that don't, I'll tell you briefly. I originally was working in the substance abuse field. My original degree was in psychology, and I wanted to get into counseling. And I did some counseling for a while. And I really enjoyed that line of work. And, basically I've always stayed connected to it. Even in the field of physiology, we have to use a lot of psychology. So anyway, I wanted to chat with them a little bit, and I noticed that they were giving out Narcan, which is, I think, an awesome thing to do. And so I just got to know them, and then I asked a client of mine who was in the MaxFit Games, Miss Joanne, if she would happen to know who their main person was to contact, because I thought they might be a great person to a great company to actually be the beneficiary of our check this year, which was $500. And she was able to hook me up and, connect me to that person who's a wonderful person. And, so I'm grateful. And I always stress the importance of contacts. It's so important to get to know people in the community so we can all help each other. I absolutely believe in win-wins, and I'm very grateful to have clients that can always help me with things like this. So that's who we donated to, and they were wonderful and gave us, I think, about 30 or 40 cans of Narcan, or supplies of Narcan, which, if you don't know, it helps save the lives of anybody that might be ODing from any kind of opioid abuse, or too much at a time, or overdose or whatever. And they sent somebody over to kind of walk us through how to do it and to get through all of the questions that people have. So we talk about the fact that people aren't liable when they try to save somebody's life with it. And it's a simple nose spray inhaler. So, it just really makes only total sense that we all have some, because we never know if somebody in our circle or somebody we come across could be potentially overdosing from an opioid, whether it be fentanyl or anything else. And as I explained to the people at the games, fentanyl is getting laced in simple marijuana these days, so it's like it could happen to anybody. So they were great to give us that in a demonstration, and we handed those out at the games. So anyway, the biggest point I'm trying to make here before I get into the games is that I believe in using fitness, using our gifts, and physical fitness and staying fit and all that is one of my gifts, and I believe in using it to help others. I think, in my opinion, if we only go compete and we're, just trying to beat other people, that's all fun and games, but it is just fun and games. And I really think there should be kind of a greater cause at the end of it personally. So I love the fact that so many people in the fitness world just come out and help causes, whether it be 5Ks or our games or other games. I mean, they really do come out, and they come out in droves when you're talking about trying to raise money for a great cause. So, that's really a cool thing. So 7 years ago we started, and it's called the MaxFit Games because, there are so many different ways to become fit, and there's so many different competitions out there. And I'm always kind of preaching we should be balanced in our fitness all the way around. I mean, you'll get people that are super into running, and running is a great activity for your cardiorespiratory fitness. But if that's all you're doing, you're probably not overly strong. You're probably not doing anything to ward off sarcopenia, which is age-related muscle mass loss. And when we lose muscle, we lower our metabolism, and then that could lead to obesity. So we don't want that. I mean, I want everybody to strength train and do cardio and have some or a lot of mobility. So I believe in doing events that really, don't get me wrong, interrupt myself here, but don't get me wrong. I love to go out and do a 5K or a strength competition individually. Yes, all those things are great. But I just love the fact when there are events that kind of combine different types of activities, and that's what I like to do at the games. And then getting back to the example of kind of mono fitness vision, then there are groups that only do strength training things, they only work out, they focus on their bench press, they don't do any cardio, and that's not the extreme of fitness either. It's you're strong or you're big, and that's great. But to be physically fit, we have to have a balance of cardiorespiratory fitness, muscular strength and endurance, and mobility. I mean, that truly is fitness. That's what works the ADLs, the activities of daily living. That's what's really important with fitness. And so I try to combine all of that in the games, and I take from what I've seen at different types of events and then just basic calisthenics, and I throw them together, and every year we do a semblance of something like that. So in this year's games, we had a run to start off because, again, we want our cardiorespiratory fitness. So we did 3 laps around the park at Holly Hill, which is an awesome place, by the way, for physical fitness because they have the trail there, then they have the calisthenic area where we can do pull-ups and step-ups and push-ups and those kind of things. And it's a pretty backdrop. You've got the river. It's just really nice. And it was warm, but it wasn't overly hot like we've had it in the past. I mean, my competitors are probably rolling their eyes right now because they were pretty much, sweating bullets, but it has been hotter. I'm not going to say it was cool or mild, but it's been hotter. So we start with the run that's almost a mile. It's 3 laps around, so it's kind of like 0.9. And, very competitive run. And Dr. Gary Frick, 59 years old, I think he is. He's 58 or 59. But anyway, he wins the whole run against younger competition. Gary's a phenomenal runner. And everybody, of course, finished it with a good time. And then there's a little break, and we went over. And the next thing we did was a wall sit, because that can test the isometric strength of the quadriceps mostly. And everybody lined up on the wall, made for a nice little picture, and whoever can last the longest is going to be the winner. And I don't remember who won that for the guys. It was somebody other than Gary, though. So every event pretty much had a different winner, if I remember correctly. And then the women went. And man, we had a runoff between 2 of our women. They went over 4 minutes. One of them was Miss Joanne, and I only know that she is a client of mine, so I know her. And the woman who beat her, I forget her name, but she did fantastic. It was like 4 minutes and 4:05. It was crazy long time to hold a squat position. So from there, we moved into what did we do? We did the step-ups and the push-ups. And I kind of supersetted them as far as time goes because it does get warm, and if we stand around too much, then it definitely gets hot. So I believe the men went first on the step-ups, and the women went first on the push-ups, and then we switched. So the step-ups were, for the men, it was a higher step. It was about 24 inches, which is pretty darn tall, by the way. And they were holding 15-pound dumbbells, and it was as many complete step cycles as they can do in a minute. The rules were they have to get the heel all the way up, and they have to lock out the hips and knees. And then on the push-ups, we did hand release simply because they are easier to judge. That means the person has to go all the way down, chest to the ground, lift the palms off the floor, and come up evenly between the legs and the torso. And I really thank Missy Gibson, who was a winner of the female division in the man. She might have beat everybody. I mean, she just crushed the event, but pulled me aside and said, hey, make sure that they don't wiggle worm up. And I'm like, yep. And she didn't say it abruptly or anything. She was just wondering and inquiring if they were allowed, basically. And I said, you know what? That's a great point. I have to make sure that it's a quality push-up. And that's what I mean. We had so many, great people offering insights and things like that. So that was the push-ups, and it's as many as you can do in 1 minute. And I cannot remember. I do not know. I do believe Missy won that for the women. I don't remember. It was maybe Zach Hawk, one of our sponsors, who won it for the overall men. Most likely won it in push-ups, but I don't know. I do know that he won overall. And then women went to the step-ups and men went to the push-ups, and we did that. And so in the scoring, there was 10 women and 5 men. We had some no-shows like we do. And we do try to cap the events at around 25 people. We don't want to have to measure too many people. It's time consuming. But good news, we're going to have a winter quick event, and we're going to try something out. And we're only going to have 20 people, but it's going to go quicker. So going to have to hang tight for that. But the way we did the scoring was, if you won the event and you're a woman, because there were 10, you got 10 points. If you were last in that particular event, you got 1 point. And so there was 7 events. So at the end of the events, whoever had the most points won. That's how we did it. All right. So for the men, 5, women, it was 1 through 10. And that's how we did the scoring. And again, one person didn't win every event, which made it pretty cool. All right. So from that point, we went to the pull-ups. And a couple of the women, Missy Gibson and then Kelly Maxwell, who was last year's winner, they did full-on chin-ups and crushed it. I'm not sure how many Missy did. I know Kelly did 12. And that's phenomenal. I don't know that many people that can do 12 pull-ups, period. And Kelly is, and she's, bragging about this, not mad at me for telling her age, but, was the oldest in the event. So it's pretty cool that she's, mid-50s and can crank out 12 pull-ups. I mean, good strict pull-ups. Her form was good. So that's pretty amazing. So the women could either do pull-ups or they could hang, and 10 seconds equaled 1 chin-up. So some people hung, and some people hung for 70 seconds, which is crazy. I believe Missy won the pull-ups or chin-ups on that with Kelly right behind her. And then men did full pull-ups. They weren't allowed to do the hangs. And I believe Zach might have won with 17, something like that. So anyway, now we've had a run for cardio. We've had step-ups for leg strength. We've had wall sit for leg isometric strength. We've had push-ups for upper body pushing. And then again, pull-ups for upper body pulling. And then we moved locations, and we did push press, which you had to show some stamina because you were pressing up for the men as many reps as they could get in a minute with a 20-pound dumbbell, and women were holding a 10-pound dumbbell. So, it was muscular endurance and strength, and as many full reps as they can complete in a minute. Had to lock out the elbow at the top to count. They could move their legs or not move their legs. It didn't matter, whatever they preferred. I don't remember who won that, but I know we had some super high numbers. And then we ended with the farmer's carry. And what we did this year was Halifax Health. My good friend John Guthrie was nice enough to donate some of those recycled grocery bags from Halifax Health, so the nice blue bags. We double bagged them, And the men had a 40-pound dumbbell in each, and the women had a 20-pound dumbbell in each. And the men had to race roughly 100 yards with them, carrying both bags and sprinting as fast as they can, turning around and coming back around Mr. Golden, one of our sponsors. And the women did it with two 20-pound dumbbells. And I don't remember who won that, but I think Zach won it for the men. I can't remember who won it for the women. It might have been Miss Joanne. She was flying on that pretty well. So that was our final event. And I want to say on this, so Missy, our winner, said, this is pretty cool. Like, this is like replicating ADLs. And I told her, I said, man, you're smart. You nailed it. So ADLs, again, stands for Activities of Daily Living. And I wanted to make it like functional fitness. And every year I'm trying to tweak it and make it a little bit better. We did the farmer carries last year, I believe, with plates. But I'm like, wait a minute. A lot of people go to the grocery store and they have to carry their heavy grocery bags. Like, let's make them extra heavy grocery bags and really focus on ADLs, because as everybody gets older, they want to maintain that fitness, right? They want to maintain that strength. So let's practice. And then Missy said, and the press-ups, that's like pushing something overhead, kind of like putting a suitcase in the overhead bin and, in the airplane. I'm like, exactly, that's why we picked it. And the step-ups, of course, is on a big step, so that's like stepping up. So that's exactly right. I want the fitness to be functional, so I'm always trying to think of fun little things we can do that replicate the movements we do in our lives. So, again, we had Zach Hawk winning it for the men. We had Missy Gibson winning it for the women. And we had a lot of age group winners. It was a lot of fun. Now, just for the analysis of, what we could have done better. So it got a little long in the scoring system. And I think that's because, one of those guys who developed the scoring system just didn't do a brilliant job with it. And that guy happens to be me. I could have had a better scoring system in place. I sat on the computer and I made one, and I thought it was going to be brilliant, and I thought it was great. And then we went to do it in real time, and I'm like, oh boy, this looks confusing. So we're adding up numbers, and we finally got it right, but it took a little too long, and I don't like that. I always like to make things as good as they can be. So in the next one, we're going to have a running clock, which I did in the very first one. And what that means is that basically you have to complete a station and then go to the next. So, I don't know, the events might take 30 or 45 minutes. I actually ran through a sample of it with our winner, Zach, because he's a client of mine. So he kind of did a version of it this morning for his workout, and it took about 40 minutes. So that's, that might be pushing it a little bit. But basically it's going to be a run, and then you're going to go and you're going to do like 200 air squats. And when you do them in good form, then you're allowed to go to the next station, which will probably be hand release push-ups, and so on and so on. So it's going to be a running clock, which is more like an obstacle course that you got to cover. It'll make scoring easier, and it just sounds like a lot of fun, so everybody gear up. All right, so that is the synopsis of the 2024 summer version of the MaxFit Games. Absolutely love and thank our sponsors, the Gildan Group and Overhead Door of Daytona Beach, who is also the sponsor of this show. And the winner, Zach, crushed it. And if you have any overhead door or any kind of garage door needs, remember, as they say, they go up and they go down, and you don't have to worry about anything else. So check them out at overheaddooردaytona.com. Please remember to subscribe to the show, download, and share with others. Until next time, be Max Fit and be Max